Tyrion Lannister's failed strategies and Westeros' downfall. Welcome back, everyone, to the channel where fantasy meets strategy and nostalgia fuels our digital adventures. He was once hailed as the cleverest man in Westeros, a master of manipulation, a survivor among lions, wolves, and dragons. Tyrion Lannister, the imp, the hand of the queen, the man who drank and knew things, became one of the most beloved characters in Game of Thrones. But beneath the wit and wisdom was a tragic truth. Tyrion Lannister's greatest strategies, his grandest ideas, would ultimately fail. And those failures wouldn't just cost him, they would shape the downfall of Westeros itself. This is the story of Tyrion Lannister's fall from brilliance, his flawed loyalty to Daenerys Targaryen, and how his miscalculations helped bring the realm to its knees. The rise of the imp. Let's start with the Tyrion Lannister we first met. Born the third child of Tywin Lannister, Tyrion was never meant to matter. Mocked for his size, blamed for his mother's death, and treated as a family embarrassment, Tyrion had only his mind as a weapon. And what a weapon it was. He maneuvered the courts of King's Landing with lethal wit. He outplayed rivals like Cersei and Littlefinger. He slapped kings, matched wits with Varys, and laughed in the face of execution. Tyrion didn't just survive, he thrived. As Hand of the King to Joffrey, he proved himself. His defense of King's Landing during the Battle of the Blackwater was masterful. His wildfire strategy saved the city and exposed his potential to be more than a shadow of House Lannister. But despite his victories, he was never rewarded. His father hated him, his sister loathed him, and when Shae betrayed him and his father condemned him, Tyrion made his choice. He killed Tywin Lannister, and fled Westeros, meeting the Mother of Dragons. Exiled and broken, Tyrion drifted to Essos where fate introduced him to Daenerys Targaryen, the breaker of chains. Here, a new Tyrion was born, not just a survivor, but an advisor to a would-be queen. Daenerys, idealistic yet inexperienced, needed a voice of wisdom. And Tyrion needed purpose. Their bond began with mutual admiration. Tyrion believed in Daenerys. He saw in her a leader who could build a better world, one free of tyranny and bloodshed. And she believed in him. She made him Hand of the Queen, a title he once wore with pride. But from this point onward, Tyrion's strategies, his instincts, his loyalties, began to unravel. Tyrion's first mistakes. In his role as Hand, Tyrion urged Daenerys to conquer Westeros peacefully, to win the hearts of the people rather than burn them into submission. A noble goal, but his methods, flawed. He advised her to ally with Yara Greyjoy, Olenna Tyrell, and the Martells. He believed this alliance would box in Cersei and win the South without fire. But Cersei outmaneuvered him. The Greyjoy fleet was ambushed. The Martells were eliminated, Highgarden fell, and Tyrion's coalition was obliterated in weeks. Each failure cost Daenerys time, armies, and trust. Yet Tyrion kept counseling restraint, while the realm spiraled deeper into chaos. The Battle of Castle Rock was his most personal defeat. He believed he could outplay Jaime by taking his ancestral home. But it was a trap. Jaime sacrificed Castle Rock to strike the Tyrells, and Tyrion watched as his plans crumbled. Undermining himself, each setback pushed Daenerys closer to madness. And yet, Tyrion kept making the same mistake, believing in the goodness of others. He underestimated Cersei, again and again. When Daenerys prepared to attack King's Landing, Tyrion urged her to offer a truce. He convinced her to parley with Cersei. He even went to the Red Keep to negotiate alone, risking his life. He returned convinced Cersei would send her armies north to fight the White Walkers. But it was a lie. Cersei played him, again. And when the White Walkers were finally defeated, Tyrion made his most damaging miscalculation, pleading with Daenerys to show mercy, to spare King's Landing, to remember the people. He begged her to hold back the dragon. The fall of King's Landing. King's Landing surrendered. The bells rang. The city knelt. But Daenerys did not stop. Tyrion watched, helpless, as Drogon reduced the capital to ash. Women, children, soldiers, and the innocent alike, slaughtered in fire. It was the day Tyrion's dream died. The queen he believed in had become the very thing he sought to destroy. And yet, it was his counsel that brought her to that throne. It was his strategies that failed to stop her. His belief in peace, diplomacy, and reason was noble, but in the world of Westeros, it proved fatal. Chains of his own making. In the aftermath, Tyrion resigned his hand, throwing his pin down the steps in front of Daenerys. It was a small act of rebellion, but too late. He was arrested, awaiting execution, and it was in that prison cell, speaking with Jon Snow, that Tyrion made one final plea, not for his life, but for the future of Westeros. He asked Jon to do what he could not: stop Daenerys. Tyrion, who had long preached peace, now encouraged regicide, not because he hated Daenerys, but because he realized his failure to act sooner had cost thousands their lives. Jon killed Daenerys, and Tyrion lived with the weight of it, a future built on failure. In the strange aftermath of war, Tyrion was spared execution. Instead, he was summoned before a council of lords and ladies to decide the fate of Westeros. Here, in what should have been his greatest moment, Tyrion delivered his final strategy. Let Bran Stark be king. The boy with no claim. The boy with no name. The three-eyed raven. Tyrion argued that stories unite people, and Bran's story was the most powerful. It was a poetic speech. But was it the right decision? Westeros, still burned and broken, placed its fate in the hands of a king who felt nothing and said little. A king chosen by Tyrion, the same man whose every major plan had failed for seasons. And as punishment for his sins, Tyrion was made Hand of the King, again. A bitter irony. The man who failed the realm, now charged with rebuilding it. The true cost of failure. Let's examine the toll of Tyrion's decisions. His advice led to the collapse of Daenerys' alliances. His trust in Cersei allowed her to regain power and kill allies. His military strategies led to defeat after defeat. His belief in mercy delayed action until King's Landing burned. His appointment of Bran raised deep questions about monarchy, memory, and destiny. And the worst part, Tyrion knew he was failing. He admitted it multiple times. He told Varys. He told Jon. He confessed to Daenerys. But he kept making the same fatal errors, hoping that diplomacy would work in a world ruled by fire and blood. A tragic genius. Tyrion's fall was not because he wasn't smart. It was because he misread the game. He thought like a man of ideas in a world of war. He underestimated evil. He overestimated mercy. And perhaps worst of all, he wanted to be loved, to be needed. That need blinded him. To Daenerys, to Cersei, to the game itself. He became a tragic genius. A man who knew everything, except when to let go. A Westeros in ruins. As we look at the state of Westeros in the final moments of Game of Thrones, one truth remains. The realm is broken. There's no clear ruler in the north. Sansa rules it independently. The Iron Islands and Dorne may still seek autonomy. The people are scattered, disillusioned, tired of war, and, sitting at the center of it all is Tyrion Lannister, Hand of the King, trying to fix a world shattered partly by his own hand. Could he have done differently? Now, let's ask the real question. Could Tyrion have prevented Westeros' downfall? Maybe, if he'd taken a harder stance against Cersei early on. If he'd urged Daenerys to strike fast and hard, before she lost her humanity. If he had acted when Varys warned him, instead of betraying him. If he had trusted Brienne and Sansa over hope. But he didn't, and that's what makes his arc so tragic. Tyrion Lannister wasn't a villain. He was a man trying desperately to do good, in a world that punished idealism. Legacy of the Imp. In the end, Tyrion's legacy will always be debated. Was he the savior of Westeros, who stopped a tyrant before she could burn the world? Or was he a well-meaning fool, whose poor judgment lit the match that destroyed the capital? He will be remembered as both. As a man who once said, "I have a tender spot in my heart for cripples, bastards, and broken things." And yet he,